Anastasia, and today we are gonna sew high-waisted panties. I love lingerie, and I'm so excited to be sharing with you my high-waisted panty pattern that I designed. You can get the pattern from my digital pattern download section on my website, or if you just want to buy a pair of panties, I'm also selling them in my lingerie collection. All handmade by me. If you're not already a subscriber, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when all the other videos go out. And if you're loving this video, make sure you share it at some point. The supplies for this project are fairly simple. You're gonna need the pattern, and it's gonna be 4 pieces, and you're gonna download that on the website. And you're gonna need some power mesh. You're gonna need about a ½ yard of power mesh, depending on your size. Nice and stretchy 4-way stretch. So make sure your power mesh is 4-way stretch, really important. You're also gonna need a ½ yard of a fun fabric that matches your power mesh. To top it off, you're gonna need about 60 inches, give or take, of a peacoat elastic. And this one has a little ruffle on it. You also don't have to use a decorative elastic. You could use a regular elastic that is plush on the back. You're also gonna need some matching thread, your rotary cutter, and a fun pair of snips to get rid of all those threads. You're also gonna need a little scrap of jersey so that way we can line the inside crotch of the panties. The first thing we're gonna do is cut it out. I'm gonna be cutting out the pieces in power mesh first. So I've got my pattern pieces here that I need to cut out of the power mesh. So we're gonna cut out the back, the crotch, and the side. And the side is cut too. So I'm gonna cut out the back and the crotch first, and then I'm gonna fold my fabric in half so I can cut out 2 at the same time of the side panels. This is the side of the front, and I've got 2 layers of the power mesh, and I'm gonna go ahead and cut out both layers at the same time. Now we're gonna cut out the center front, and you're gonna cut out a nice fancy fabric for this one, and it doesn't have to be stretched because the rest of our panty stretches. So I love the satin so much. It has red flocked hearts on it. If you don't know what flocking is, it means it's fuzzy. It feels so nice. It's so cute. Kind of has this like retro vintagey vibe to it. Now grab your crotch pattern piece, and we're gonna cut it out of a jersey or a cotton. It's really important that you place all your pattern pieces on the grain line when you're cutting out lingerie. So double check all your grain lines and make sure that you're not just placing pattern pieces randomly on your fabric. It will make a huge difference in how it fits. So we have all of our pattern pieces cut out, and they're gonna get put together something like this. So we have our beautiful center front panel, we have our 2 side fronts, we have the crotch piece with the lining under here, and then this here is gonna be our back panel. I'm gonna be using a serger to put this together, but if you don't have a serger, you could use a zigzag stitch or another stitch suitable for knits. So let's go over to the serger and start sewing. Today I'll be using the Husqvarna Viking Amber Air Serger, and I'm going to be using a 4-thread overlock to sew together the panties. Now what we're gonna do is line up the side front panel. Ooh, sticky. So we want to create the front of our panties. So you wanna make sure these line up, something like that. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew. So we're gonna put one on the right, so when it flips back, it'll look like this. And then we're gonna go ahead and sew the other one on the left. So the left piece is gonna line up something like that. So we're gonna go ahead and sew this seam and that seam. Okay, so let's go ahead and serge these together. So we've got this side sewn up. So let's go ahead and do the same thing to the other side. So now your panties should look something like this. And next, we're gonna attach the crotch. Now what you wanna do is place the mesh layer on the top of the hearts, and you're gonna go ahead and place the knit layer on the back. So So that way you're sandwiching them together. And then we're gonna serge straight across this line here. So you've got power mesh, satin, and knit. Okay, so next this part is really tricky. We have to attach the bottom of the crotch piece to the bottom of the back. Okay, so what we're gonna do is roll up the front of our panty. And now what we're gonna do is open it up so that way you have the knit on one side and the mesh on the other. And now you're gonna fold it up. So it's kind of sandwiched in between it here. So now I want you to go ahead and take the back of your panty and we're gonna roll this up too. So we're gonna roll up the back of our panty, but don't roll up that edge because what we're gonna do is neatly place it inside of here, right next to that one. And now we have these 3 layers that have to go together. The mesh crotch, the mesh back, and the knit crotch. And so now what we can do is just layer all these up and go to the serger and sew them up. So I've got all 3 layers lined up and I'm gonna hold them together and line them up as I serge. So carefully lined up. And now you're gonna have a concave and a convex curve. So make sure you're lining these up, not pulling. Keep lining up. And we did it. So your crotch piece should look something like this. We have a nice clean seam on the top. We have a nice clean seam on the bottom. And if we flip it over, we still have nice clean seams because we have put all of our seam allowance on the inside on both pieces. Now what we're gonna do is place right sides together and sew up the side seams. Okay, so now we're gonna lay the right sides together and we're gonna go ahead and sew up the side seams on the panties. So let's go over to the serger and serge it up. Now go ahead and do the exact same thing to the other side. Now that we've finished all of our major seams, your panties should look something like this. And now it's time to attach the elastic with the serger. So now we're gonna attach elastic around both leg openings and the waist. When we're placing the elastic on the panty to put in the serger, we want the flat edge of the elastic to be lined up with the raw edge of the panty. And I suggest starting either at a seam or in the center of the crotch where it's not going to be seen where it overlaps. So we're gonna go all the way around this leg, all the way around that leg, and all the way around the waist with the elastic. So I've lined up the raw edge of my elastic with the side seam here, and now we're gonna go ahead and serge it on. So just make sure you're lining up that edge of the elastic with the edge of your panties. You can pull it just a little bit. You don't want to pull it a lot. You don't want it to be tight on you. Pulling the elastic is going to make it tighter on you, so make sure you don't pull it too much. So notice how we are serging on the elastic and it's finishing the edge. Okay, so now we're coming to the end. And I want to make sure my previous part of elastic is coming off. And then when I'm coming over here, it's going to cross over it. So that way we don't have any raw edges showing. And now we're just going to narrow off of the panty. So now you can see right where the elastic overlapped, but it's going into the seam. So that way there's no raw edge here. Now we're gonna go ahead and sew the elastic on the leg openings. So now we've got all of the elastic serged on and we're gonna have to go over to the regular sewing machine and zigzag down the elastic. So what I mean by that is the elastic wants to flip out. So what we need to do is flip it inwards and zigzag it down so our pretty ruffle is on the edge. Today I'm using the Husqvarna Viking Designer Epic 2, and I have it set up with a zigzag stitch. So I have my trim folded down and in, so you can kind of see that seam here. And we're going to be stitching on top of that with the zigzag. I'm going to position the fabric in the middle of my foot so that the zigzag covers the entire stitch width. You might need to adjust your zigzag stitch depending on the serge you did on your machine. So now we're just gonna go around all of the elastic with a zigzag, sewing down the fabric and the elastic. So now I have the elastic sewn down on the top of the panty, and we're gonna do the leg holes next. We finished the panties and they turned out so good. I am so happy with these. So cute. These panties turned out so cute. I love the hearts in the middle. I love the ruffled elastic. I love that they also have a transparency to them, so they're a bit sexy and cute. And don't forget, if you want to make a pair for yourself with my pattern, you can get it off my website. Or if you just want to buy a cute pair of panties, you can buy them off my website as well. Thanks so much for watching Sewing Anastasia today. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to share it, the share icon is at the bottom. And if you're not already subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when all my other videos come out. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Sewing Anastasia and Anastasia Chatzka. And if you're in Chicago, you can take a sewing class with me in my design studio. Or I would love to make you a custom garment. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter and TikTok and all those other fabulous places on social media.